Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our latest episode of Voices United, our broadcast from United Way of Citrus County. So glad that you all are watching today and listening on our podcast platforms. Hey, today we've got another commissioner. Commissioner Jeff Kinnard is our guest today. But first, let me tell you about our sponsors. Let me see if I can weave all this together. Imagine sitting on the back lanai of your house, beautiful home where the plans were drawn up by Blue Water Drafting, and you're enjoying your favorite cattle dog coffee, and you're looking really good because you went to Aesthetic House and they gave you that facial or Botox or whatever, just made you look your best. And maybe after all of that, you even got your hair done at Changes Hair Design Studio in Homosassa. And that big, beautiful house of yours is protected by Powers Protection, the folks over in Inverness. And you're just looking forward to a nice, relaxing day. And your fridge is full of great, great items from Publix. I think I did it. So those are our sponsors for our broadcast today. The Aesthetic House, Changes Hair Design Studio, Cattle Dog Coffee Roasters, Blue Water Drafting, Powers Protection, and of course, largest contributor to United Way in Citrus County, in Florida, and worldwide, Publix. Thank you all for being such gracious sponsors of what we do at United Way. All right, so without any further ado, we have Commissioner Jeff Kinnard joining us today. I always feel like I have to work doctor in there somewhere. You know, it's like, is it Dr. Commissioner Jeff Kinnard, Commissioner Dr. Jeff Kinnard? What is it?
Listen, I'm married. We've raised 2 kids. I've coached youth sports. Now I'm in politics. I've been called a lot of different things, so I answered all of them.
Oh, yeah. I know you have, between youth sports. It's wild out there these days. I've seen the videos on YouTube and Facebook and all of it. And politics, of course. I got to tell you, though, I don't know what it's like for you sitting up there on the dais, and people come up there, they say things to you, but it makes for some good television, man. From where I'm at, sitting in my office, I thought it was hilarious when someone just said to you so fast recently, and they didn't expound, they just moved on. Jeff, you're a rhino, and just moved on. And I was just like, oh my gosh, what is going on here?
Well, the key to, you know what, before we go any further, I have to compliment you on tying together all the sponsors. That was done remarkably well, absolutely beautiful. And I hope that Richard is watching, because he could use it, or listening in, he could use some of that.
You know what? I'm going to send him a link to this broadcast. And so listen, I'm no Joe Rogan here, but I'm doing my best. And
you did fantastic.
At some point, we're going to create a podcast studio, like a legit studio. If people really saw like the room that I'm in right now, they'd be like, bro, you're making that happen from that little closet. But I really would like to have a podcast studio that we could even offer studio time to other nonprofits and whatever, and even teaching people how to. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing. But I think Richard would be maybe he'll be impressed. And we're talking about Richard Spires from 99.9 FM out of Brooksville. He hosts the morning show down there, and Commissioner Kinnard and myself are on there. Commissioner Kinnard, because he's much more important than me. He's on there like every Friday, right? Let's give him a little shout out. Every Friday, right?
Every Friday at 7:40 a.m. Yeah, we cover the 7:40 a.m. Friday topics. But hey, you asked me about sitting up on the dais and people coming up and saying different things and moving on. You know, the key to surviving it is you can't take it personally. Most of these people don't know any of the 5 of us at all. You know, they might be mad at policy. They might be misunderstanding certain positions, things like that. And so when they come up there and they tend, not all of them, there's certainly, you know, just a handful typically, but they lash out at, you know, maybe one of us individually or all 5 of us or county government or staff. You know, they're more mad about a situation or that type of thing rather than mad at you personally. And so you can't take those things personally. You try and listen through it and hear what it is they're upset about, and then see if we can find a way to help them resolve their problem.
I worked probably, let's see, probably about 7 years in residential programming for juvenile delinquents.
Yes.
And another 12 years running a mentoring program for juveniles in our community that kind of could have been on their way to delinquency. And listen, I feel like I've heard it all too. I mean, sometimes there may not be a far stretch. It's just like human nature, right? People get worked up about things. They say things. At the end of the day, you can't take it personal. It happens around here every once in a while at United Way as well.
Sure,
I'm just always reminding our team what a leader had told me when I was young in my career. Her name was Miss Samuel. Miss Samuel said, "George, those kids that deserve your help the least need it the most."
Yeah.
And so we try to operate from that paradigm around here. I think you have to do it as a county commissioner as well. When people get worked up, you still are just going to do the best that you can.
Absolutely. And
county.
You're not gonna talk them out of what it is they're angry about. You got to listen to what they're angry about, and then try and help to resolve that issue. Government doesn't have all the answers, so sometimes it's a matter of listening to them and trying to help them understand why we have a certain policy in place, and then let's see what we can do to help try and resolve your issue. But we still have to keep this certain policy in place, whatever that might be. And there's a lot more listening involved, honestly, than there is talking. As much as I like to talk, it's a lot of listening to what's going on and trying to hear what it is that they're really upset about.
Well, listen, I didn't. You do talk. I mean, you'll when you get on something, sometimes it's like you'll make your case, and then the other commissioners make their case, and right. And this is the only opportunity you all have to talk about it, which is just so interesting to me because you're not going to get yourself in trouble for violating sunshine laws and being on the front page of the paper.
Yeah.
It's always interesting. And then another commissioner will express their opinion, and I could just hear you on a recent issue say, "All right, I'll take one more crack at it. I'll take and
one more bite at the apple."
Yeah, there you go. And but I will say I didn't bring you on to just give you props, Commissioner, but I do think you make very well reasoned, well thought out arguments when you stake out a position. And
thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's one thing whether you agree with someone or not. You can disagree with them, but at least like what I want to know is they came about that position honestly.
Yeah.
That's what I really want to know, and that you really mean it. And so I do hear some well thought out arguments, not just from you, but from other folks up there as well. And I do have, I guess, the luxury or the benefit of knowing all of you. I don't know Commissioner Barrick as well. She's new to the board, but I do know all of you all, and I truly am grateful that you all step up and choose to lead, take some of those slings and arrows. I know it can be very thankless. My job can be very thankless sometimes as well. So
I've got to tell you, after sitting up there for about 8.5 years at this point, I have served with some great commissioners. I've enjoyed serving with each of the ones that have sat up there with me. This current board of county commissioners, and not a slight on Commissioner Slabaugh whatsoever, because she knew that agenda and the backup material inside and out. But I will tell you, the four commissioners that are up there right now, they know that agenda from the front cover to the back cover. When that meeting starts at 1 o'clock, those ladies, all four ladies, are very well prepared. It doesn't mean we're going to agree on everything, because certainly we lock horns on some things. We're dealing with some pretty critical issues on what this county looks like 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, not just from an infrastructure perspective, but what it looks like in terms of our taxes. What is decisions that are made today, how's that going to affect tax rates down the road when, none of the five of us will be up there any longer, but you'll leave the county commission sitting up there trying to figure out how to make it all work. And so sitting up there, you can't be afraid to speak your piece, if you will, stake out your turf, make your argument. But then when it's over, once the vote is taken, you got to move on to the next agenda item. You can't carry over whether the vote came down on your side or not. You got to turn the page and move on to the next thing, because each of the voters up there were elected. Each of the commissioners up there were elected by the voters of Citrus County, so they represent a contingent of people who need to be given due respect.
So what does that look like? So I remember speaking to a commissioner years ago, and she showed me a binder. Literally, it was on her desk. She showed me a binder. I don't know if that was an unusually heavy agenda because I don't have any context for it, but at least in that moment, that was a really large binder, and she probably had 4 or 5 days maybe to sort of go through that and digest that. I thought, this is going to be a long weekend for her to go through this and really come prepared. What does that process look like for you? Little inside baseball. How do you get that agenda? Where does it come from?
Yeah, the agenda comes out exactly a week before the county commission meeting. So next Tuesday we've got a meeting, so our agenda will come out tomorrow afternoon. And it used to be that most of us use the agenda online, because the agenda and all the backup materials online. Now, I've got some commissioners who still want to get it in a book form. So those books, as you were saying, those things are thick. Sometimes, some meetings, there's actually 2 of those books that, to hold all of the backup material. So there's a lot to it. There's a lot to each one of those agendas. Folks come to the meeting, for one particular issue. Well, most of the time they don't quite understand that on that agenda, there's all this material that goes with it.
Yeah. And I got to tell you, you are singing the praises of the current board. You'll find me singing the praises of county staff all the time. And I mean that, right? Listen, I don't owe these people anything, and they don't owe me anything either. But let me tell you something. Whenever I deal with housing services in particular, we're closest to them. Michelle Alford's probably tired of me talking on this broadcast about how amazing she is, and Val and Donnie, her group. Yeah, all of it. Just and I go back even prior to being at United Way and other things that I've done with myself in the past and needed county support on it. But let me tell you, I'm very impressed with our county administrator right now. I'm impressed with the team that he's brought together. It just, man, they're on point. And so I know that has to help, right? Like, these are the folks that I'm guessing that are putting the agendas together. They're giving you all that backup and everything. To me, it seems like a good, well-ran commission meeting where the commissioners are able to really work through issues starts with that information flow that comes into you by county staff. It's got to be critical.
I've got to tell you, I'm glad that you brought up county staff, because you're exactly right. People get mad at them whenever they've got a specific situation they're dealing with, but they don't understand the number of issues that county staff is dealing with at any one time. And, I'll give you 2 quick examples that I dealt with just last week. There was one particular couple who had, their builder had submitted plans. They were waiting on permits, and county staff said, we just need, you need to correct this. Well, their builder kept submitting the same paperwork over and over again. It wasn't corrected. And I reached out to the county administrator, said, can you look at this and find out what's missing? That's when they realized that their builder was not submitting the corrected paperwork they needed to. They corrected it. They got their permits this morning. I got a message this morning that was issued. Last week, I had somebody email me about some debris still left out in the marsh from the hurricanes. I sent it off to Mark Edwards, the director of aquatics. He got it to Carl, and Carl's already sent it off to the state. I got those messages this morning. The state's on it. They're going to get somebody out there to remove this debris. It's just, and that's on top of everything else that they're dealing with. Those folks really do work their tails off to try and make it right for our residents here in the county.
Yeah, whenever I'm talking to you commissioners and you talk about, gosh, it just puts me in a good position to actually really be helpful to people. That sounds like one of those I think it's important for people to reach out to their commissioner, know who your commissioner is, know who your state representative is and who your state senator is, and know that Gus Bilirakis is the one that's representing us here. These people will actually help.
They have got to understand, not just local government. You're exactly right. J.J. Grow, our representative, and Blaise Ngola, our senator up in Tallahassee. Those are two very, very powerful positions and great people that are in them. And that's not blowing smoke. That's not just patting them on the back. Those two guys are going to get a lot done for us up in Tallahassee. You know, Ralph Masulo was a great representative for us. Of course, Senator Simpson, he was a great senator for us. So we have moved right into continuing a legacy of great leadership, our great representatives for us up in Tallahassee. And you need to know who they are. Stay in touch with them. They're great folks to talk to.
Yeah, people might be surprised how many times individuals in our community who have a need, they might actually connect to our United Way by way of, in particular, the local commissioners, our county commissioners, and our state representatives.
Yeah.
So far, those are good avenues to get to us. And by the way, they'll also point you not only United Way, but other good agencies in the community or housing services, other folks that can help. But listen, I want to talk a little bit about with the time we've got left, and I don't want to go 45 minutes like I did before, because with the commissioner I spoke to 2 weeks ago, I have a way of droning on and on. Because I'm just interested. I'm interested in people's stories. But you sit on some boards as well, and every commissioner does outside of the commission chambers, right? We get to see you all on YouTube, 1 p.m. live on a Tuesday until hopefully not 10 p.m., right? You all will have some marathon meetings sometimes, that's for sure. But you're on the Hernando Citrus MPO board, the Regional Water Supply Board, Keeping Citrus County Beautiful, the Value Adjustment Board. There's folks that are listening right now. They have no idea what a value adjustment board is. They don't know what a regional water supply board is. Like, maybe y'all just keep the water supply flow, and we have no idea. And the transportation planning board, like, let's get just like a really brief explanation of what these boards do. So how about the MPO board? Tell us about that one.
Yeah, a number of years ago, both Citrus and Hernando County had their own individual transportation planning boards. FDOT would prefer that we join together. At the time, they made it very clear they wanted us to join together to form a more regional transportation planning board. And so that was done by commissioners a number of years ago. And so now we have the Hernando Citrus MPO, and we plan for, we've got DOT representative is in every one of our meetings. Myself and Commissioner Bays sit on that board. She is the current chair of the board, and we just have a great relationship with the Hernando County commissioners. And then you've got City of Inverness representative on there. You've got City of Crystal River representative on there, and a City of Brooksville representative on there. And so we talk about and plan for road capacity projects, new road projects, things like that. Those are things that are planned out, 5-10 years in advance, different bike paths. Those are discussions that we have. And then ultimately we put together our plan that's submitted to FDOT on what our regional transportation goals look like. Safety improvements for different roads, intersections, things like that.
Well, let me tell you, I used to be pretty crusty about all these bike paths get built alongside these roads, but then I started riding a bike. I love them, man. Build as many of them as we possibly can. Those bike paths are going to keep me young.
Yep. How do I want to say this? I guess statistically, Citrus and Hernando County do not stack up well for the number of bad accidents, fatalities with pedestrians. And so the idea is to get some of these folks off of the roads, get them onto sidewalks or the multi-purpose paths, There are a lot of folks that are trying to opt out of driving their car everywhere they go. So we've got to make sure we can keep those folks safe while they're traversing the county as well. And so that's what those paths do.
Yeah. All right. And the Regional Water Supply Board, tell us about that.
Yeah, there are 4 counties involved, and the water, the water that we drink, the water that we use in our homes, on our yards, things like that. That water comes from the Upper Floridan aquifer. That aquifer does not know county boundaries, so it travels underneath the ground that we walk on, down into Hernando County, over into Sumter County, into Marion County. And so it makes sense to govern that water and use of that water regionally rather than specifically by county. I'll tell you, years ago, there's a portion of the aquifer that comes up from south of Hernando County, Pinellas, Hillsborough, Polk County, Pasco County. Part of that aquifer pool comes up under Hernando County. And so a number of years ago, Tampa Bay Water, roughly 70% of the water that they were using to feed those counties was coming from under the feet of the folks who live in Hernando County. So it makes sense for us to get together with these other counties and have a regional water supply plan. We've got plenty of water. We don't have any water issues up here, water supply issues up here. And we want to make sure it stays that way, not just for the next year or 10 years, but for the next few decades, out to 2050 and so forth. And so those are the kind of planning timelines that we're working on.
So does our water supply, does it connect in any way to the water supply over in the villages? Because I got to tell you, man, I look at the growth over there, and I've just been like, how in the world is the water table? Listen, I'm no expert on this stuff, right? Yeah. At all, not even close to an expert. But it just makes me wonder sometimes, how in the world is the water table withstanding all of that?
The affectionately known as the beast to the east, the villages. They do have significant water demands, and the district, pardon me, SwiftMud is the one charged with finding water. When they submit an application for increased water usage out of their wells over there, it's up to SwiftMud to find that water. And so far, they've been able to find that water in our groundwater. We're currently just using the Upper Floridan aquifer. There's also a Lower Floridan aquifer that thankfully we've not needed to tap into that. But I think the next avenue they will look towards to feed the growing demand of water over there will be surface water. Building large reservoirs that can pull off the excess amount of water off the Withlacoochee at times when the water's really high, when there's a lot of rain and so forth. Not draining the Withlacoochee, but building reservoirs that would allow that excess water to run off. So we don't necessarily have projected issues over here in Citrus County. Sumter County has concerns because of the growth that's happening over there, and so that's some discussion that they've been having.
I bet they have. All right, tell us about the Value Adjustment Board. What is that?
Yeah, all of our properties, our homes are valued each year for the purposes of ultimately when the county commission decides what the millage rate is going to be, that millage rate is applied to the value of the home, and that determines what your that and other factors determine what your property tax bill is going to be. And some folks, I believe that the property appraiser, Craig Dalton, certainly could give us a better explanation. But I believe there's a certain percentage increase and so forth that's applied to large areas of residences, commercial properties, and so forth. And if somebody's value of their home or business goes up more than they think that it should have, they have an avenue to go in and try and work that out with the property appraiser. If that doesn't work out, then ultimately they end up in front of the Value Adjustment Board and present their case as to why they believe that their property is not valued at the appropriate level.
All right, and I'm gonna forego the Keep Citrus County Beautiful board right now, but folks, keep Citrus County beautiful.
Yeah, we've got to get a handle on the litter,
man. We really do. Like tie tie down that load going into the dump, please. Sometimes, Commissioner, you well know where your business is, and you come across 44 from Lowe's down to the dump. Oh my gosh!
Yes,
sometimes it can be a mess.
Everybody's got to be involved. You can't have trash in the bed of a pickup truck. It's going to blow out. Just clean the trash out of there, because it's going to blow out and it's going to end up alongside of our roadways. And certainly don't intentionally throw stuff out. We see that too. We have all got to work on this together to try and clean up our roadways. Let's take a little pride in the area where we live at. We have got more litter crews out on the road now than we've ever had in this county, and we still struggle to keep up with it.
There's only one thing that will bring upon you the seething disdain of Citrus County residents or residents anywhere. Outside of like not putting your cart back in the cart corral at Publix, it's throwing litter out of the side of your vehicle and messing up our roadways and whatnot. So please get that under control and keep our county looking beautiful.
Yes.
It is just a beautiful place, right? We're already working with our starting point is so good, right? It's one of the things about our community. It's just beautiful place. So
we live in a very, very special place, and it can be even better if we can all work together at decreasing litter. If you see stuff on the ground, pick it up and throw it away. Help out. Don't wait for that city or county crew to come by. Help us out. Let's all work on this together and see if we can help improve the aesthetics of our walkways, our roadways, so forth.
So you came to our beautiful county 30 years ago. Easy for me to remember. I graduated in 1995 from high school. So where'd you come from? What brought you here to Citrus County? And then once you got here, like if we look at all the things that you've done to just jump right in and participate in our community, I think it's pretty impressive. But what brought you here in 1995?
I grew up down in Newport Richey. Renee, my wife, she and I both went to Gulf High School together, and then went off to college. When we got back from college, we decided to make Citrus County our home. I used to travel up here years ago. We would come up, a group of us from high school, we'd come up, we'd actually do some hunting out here in the forest, and we'd stop in at Mom and Pop Creason's Archery and talk to both of those folks that would help some young kids learn how to archery hunt better, and just fell in love with the place. Renee and I moved up here in 95. Ultimately, both of our kids, Casey and Weston, were born right here at Citrus Memorial, and they went through the school system. They went off to college, and Casey has started her career. Weston is in graduate school over in Port Orange. So we're very involved in youth sports. Ended up on the board, and then ultimately in the chair position for our youth football and cheerleading squad. I ended up as president of our local Coastal Conservation Association for a number of years. Just things that I'm passionate about, and it's easy to get involved and do things that you love.
Well, for everyone out there that is learning more and more about Commissioner Kinnard, just never forget that he's the chair of the cheerleading squad.
Yeah, I was.
Who'd have thunk it? Who'd have thought that?
My board frequently have accused me of paying more attention to the football side of it than the cheer, but we supported both of them for sure.
I love, man. I'd love to get into some of the things, the initiatives in the county and different things that are out there, but I'll have to have you back, and I would love for you to do that and just catch us up every now and then on the things as this term of the board continues. The other things I'd like to know is, like how long did it take you to really to settle in as a commissioner? And there's a lot of things I could ask you, but as we wrap up, I always ask everyone that comes on our broadcast, what is something you're excited about as you look at Citrus County and you look at our future? People can complain, and everybody's got complaints here and there. Even well-intentioned people have complaints, but there's just so much stuff I think to be excited about as we look toward the future. So tell us what that is for you. What are you excited about and most hopeful about?
Our economy, our local economy is changing. For years, our economy has been based solely on service level jobs, and those jobs are necessary. They're essential during our younger years, as maybe we're going through school, young families, things like that. But then we need to grow into more career class jobs. And what we're seeing is our economy is slowly shifting in that direction. There are a couple really, really big plays possibly in the works right now that if we can land even one of these, it is going to be a game changer almost overnight for our community. So the opportunities are there for folks that want a career class job. And you've got a rehabilitation center that opened up out here in Clear Sky Rehabilitation. What a beautiful facility that is. You've got the VA is going to build a new hospital here in the community. Hopefully, we're going to have a new hospital built out in the central part of the community as well. You've got Citrus Memorial has said that they're going to build a standalone emergency room. So, and there are different manufacturers as well that are opening up or expanding their operations. So for the people who truly want to look for that career class job, those opportunities are there. And I believe they're going to even expand quite a bit more in the near future.
Well, all that sounds wonderful, very hopeful. I know a lot of that's in the work. Shout out to Clear Sky, by the way. They're always great to us, and my wife works down there. And Commissioner, I remember Jerry Mulligan at one of the chamber town hall meetings talking about how someone had shared with him years ago just how important it is for communities to make something. So like when you're talking about manufacturing, that sort of thing, I think that's great. That's exciting to me. I look forward to the day that at United Way, we're around here like, what are we going to do? Like inflation is down. We've got good, and by the way, this is not just local stuff. It is not just local. We've got great monetary policy, and housing is abundant, and all of these. We're going to be like, what are we doing today? I guess we're going to have to do more podcasts when that day comes, just talking about how wonderful things are in our community.
Well, we keep serving until that day comes that there's no one else out there to serve, right?
That's exactly right. It's exactly right. We want to work our way out of a job around here. That's what we're doing. So, well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being so gracious with your time. I can see that you are joining us from what looks like an exam room. You're taking a break there today to join us, and I greatly appreciate it. And we'll have to have you back on in the future.
You bet, of course. Anytime. Glad to do it. And thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. Commissioner Jeff Kinnard, and we'll be back. I believe next week we have another commissioner as well. So join us next week for that. And until then, be well.